All right, so today I'm going to be doing an unscripted review of Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door Remake. Now, is it a remake or is it a remaster? It's one of those things where I think what happened here is that it's super polished to the point where a lot of people are convinced that it's full-on remake. My theory, though, is that they got the source code still, and they were somehow able to implement that into the new engine that they have with the Origami King and stuff like that. Now, I could be completely wrong about that, but the only reason why I even think that might be the case is that there's a lot of movement paths that seem identical. There also seems to be the core geometry of all the maps seem to be generally exactly the same. Now, obviously, they just look drastically different because you take the core collision data and then you can make a model over it that is brand new. And I think that's what happened here. That's not to take away from this whatsoever. I'll still call it remake if it makes everybody happy. But the point I'm trying to make here is that it's so same and different that it does cause a little bit of a disrupted conversation about that. And I think that this is one of the greatest remakes that you could ask for when the original game is just so good by itself. I think that if there was just a port that was 16:9 for the original Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, many of us would have been just fine with that. I think that in general, all the characters and all the models would look good in HD. It's just not going to look as good as it does with this remake here. And so in order to address that, it seems that like this remake does a lot in terms of presentational upgrade. Now, obviously, I say that with some people going to be taking, some concern or criticism towards the 60 FPS down to 30 FPS. And I get that. That's very valid criticism. I do think that everything that goes into a remake should be objectively better and not objectively worse, which when you go from 60 to 30 FPS, that is just, there's no way around it. That is definitely a downgrade for something that should be much better across the board. But what you get in return, in my opinion, is well worth it. I think that this is definitely the definitive version of Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door now. I say this because, one, the way that the music is arranged is infinitely better than the original soundtrack. I don't even, again, that's a matter of opinion, but my personal opinion, they did every track much better in the remake, and they even added tracks to certain scenes to give an emotional impact to scenes that didn't have it before. They also changed the voice dialogue, so instead of just a singular blip noise, the blip noise now has its own unique voice attached to it. So Princess Peach is going to sound like Princess Peach a bit, Luigi's going to sound like Luigi a bit, and all the other characters that were made for this game kind of have something that alludes to what it would sound like if they were actually talking, which I thought that was a really nice touch. Stuff that we've seen in the recent games, and that's basically what this game is. It's what would the Thousand Year Door look like if we had it through the lens of the presentational upgrade that we've seen with stuff like Origami King and all that. And I would say that this has just been an absolute treat. I just had to go through the entire game on Boundary Break for the GameCube, so I know one-to-one how much stuff has changed between the two games, and I will tell you, it's made me excited to actually keep playing this game, despite the fact that I've had to slog through the entire game for a Boundary Break episode. Now I'm playing through it casually and just enjoying it, and it's been a blast. I absolutely love it. So there's that. There's also just the fact that they also added more character expression to various scenes, which is something, again, I just feel like we don't get to see enough of. I feel like game companies don't often see the value in something like that, but here with the Thousand Year Door, there's lots of scenes where a character didn't cry before, but now there's like a unique illustration and animation tied to it to show the character crying when there needs to be an emotional moment, or laughing when they weren't laughing in the original game. So it's stuff like that that just goes like miles and miles, because it makes me sit there and wonder and go like, how much of this did they put into the game? Because I'm only like 2 chapters in, so like, is this gonna keep going? And to assure everybody, yes, it keeps going. And so honestly, like, just seeing all the little upgrades that make this thing more polished than I think it ever needed to be, it becomes a really, really cool remake. I'm really happy with this remake. I think that it's really awesome. I think it makes it really easy to point to that and say, yes, pick up that version. It's the definitive version. You're going to get the experience of a Thousand Year Door the way that I think we all remembered it, despite the fact that the way we remembered it was not as polished as it actually is here. So it kind of is like a visual representation of our childhood rose-tinted goggles looking at the game. And I think that's an awesome idea for how to approach a remaster or a remake. And so I hope to see this a little more often. Again, for Super Mario RPG, I loved that remake. I thought that was amazing, amazing remake. I did think that the original Mario RPG was so good that all it needed was to have all of its visuals translated to real 3D models instead of pre-rendered 3D models with some adjustments and stuff like that. But now, playing the Thousand Year Door Remake, I do kind of wish that they added a little bit of extra expressions and stuff like that to Super Mario RPG that we didn't get with that remake. So that's the big kudos I have for Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. I think that it does so much with its presentational quality that it really is just worth a second go around if you played already, and it's definitely worth playing if you've never played the Thousand Year Door before. Me personally, I would say that the Thousand Year Door sits at my number 2 out of all of my favorite Paper Mario games. Now, that is actually the unpopular opinion. If I was to share with you what most fans say is the best Paper Mario game, they will say, generally speaking, Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. So you're in really good hands is all I'm trying to really say here. If you decide to try out the Paper Mario franchise for the first time, and it happens to be this game. Highly recommend you pick it up. Highly recommend that you give it a shot and you tell me what you think of it. I was actually kind of blown away. I thought for sure I would not have any interest in going back to the Thousand Year Door after having to cover the original game for Boundary Break, but no, I was completely wrong. I find that all these changes, these little adjustments here and there, that are all for the better for the most part, except for the 60 FPS down to the 30 FPS. That's it. I think that this is like an overall stellar package that really is just great for those people that want to kind of like put a magnifying glass up to it and just see how many little things they did to it, because it is a lot of fun just kind of scoping all that stuff out. And in general, for the game itself, I already kind of touched upon the fact that most fans enjoy it so much and say that it's oftentimes their favorite, like Arlo, for example. But the reason for that, I think, is largely to do with the fact that it's the most refined gameplay out of any of the games. So it takes the original gameplay concept of the first game, and then it's just infinitely more RPG. Like, there's a lot more things you can customize. There's a lot more uses for your allies and stuff like that. And then there's the badges and everything. And yes, there was badges in the last one, but like it's all expanded upon. It all feels even grander. And then the story itself, it's more OC than ever before. Original character, if you didn't know what that meant. So, like, you have a story, a plot line that really goes out there. And although I will say I think Super Paper Mario's plot line ends up being a little bit better with the whole, like, we're going to do whatever we want story, I still think that this is like a story, an adventure worth getting on and enjoying. And you're going to really enjoy just like the level of humor that is also thrown into this, and just the amount of original characters that are fun and just you're able to attach yourself to. So yeah, big recommend from me. Check out Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door remaster or remake, whichever you want to call it. I don't care. Hopefully you don't care and you're not getting insulted by the fact that I won't pick a side on that. If I had to give it a score, it's 10 out of 10. There you go. It's a 10 out of 10 game. Yeah, okay, my first review on this channel, I give out a freaking 10. That's a rookie move. I'll give it a 9.5 because it dropped from 60 FPS to 30 FPS. But that 0.5 points is exactly how much I feel that change really hurt the experience. It's just a 0.5 difference. Would it be nice if the car had a little bit of extra wax on it? Sure. Does it make it a bad car if it doesn't have the extra double coat of wax? No. That's exactly how I feel about that. It's otherwise a superior experience to the original game. Consider it. I loved it, and I think you might love it too. All right, well, anyways, thanks for listening to my unscripted review. I hope you enjoyed it, and take care. Also, we put out our big boy video this month, finally. This is the video with a lot of extra editing and a lot of extra care and attention put into the script and all that. This is about Nintendo documentaries and why we need them. And if you haven't seen it yet, please give it a watch. I'm pretty proud of this one. Bloops did a fantastic job. I'm going to have a link on the screen and in the video description right now. Thanks a lot.